Everybody, welcome to the 2023 end of year Christmas special recap. So we're going to spend the next 45 minutes or so together going over all of the amazing things that we've been so lucky and so fortunate to accomplish so far this year. And I've got Jared Brader here with me today. Reese Jones is with us. We don't have Dr. Keith Darren. We don't have Dr. Terry Edwards with us, but that's okay. We do have all of their wins up on the board, so we'll go through their wins. And I think for me, I want to start by saying this is something that we've been practicing. I think this is our third or fourth year that we've done this now. And it works tremendously for us because what it does is it sort of clears out our mental cache, if you will, to allow us to start and refocus on what we're doing in 2024. My suggestion to you after watching this video is recreate this for you and your staff. Write down all of your wins, share them with the staff members before the end of the year so you can start focusing on 2024.
Well, I think the biggest thing for me is thank you all for being here. You were a part of our success in audiology, in the profession, in our community. And without you, we wouldn't have people and practices to serve. So thanks for being here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I just to reiterate what Morgan says, I mean, it's amazing when you go back through the year and there's things in March I forgot I did and probably would have never thought of that again unless we, had this conversation. So it's worth looking back through the logs and just celebrating all those wins.
I mean, just while we're right there, Reese, do you remember how many states you visited this year or countries?
So I think I've been to about 12 states as far as on-site training practices. 2 different countries, a couple events in Canada. So
yeah, I mean that's an amazing impact when you think about 12 different states, 2 different countries, training the profession all over. Would you ever have imagined that even last year, let alone 5 or 10 years ago?
Oh, absolutely not. And I mean that's just physical locations. I mean the different calls I have with different countries or different states, different practices. Just a small thing for me is I went and spoke at the University of Alabama. So it's like I would have never told you I'm going to basically be on the same stage as college professors someday. So I mean that's pretty cool to see.
That's a huge impact. Speaking of countries, Morgan, how many countries are we in? How many coaching clients do we have?
Yeah, so tremendous growth for the Odd Experts. To Jared's point, shout out to all of you that are watching this phone call. It wouldn't be possible without you. But we are up to 5 countries, which is phenomenal for us. I would have never guessed that. 51 clients in total, 27 states, and 4 different languages. And just as we were kind of building that list, I was like, how did we get to this point? Who would have ever thought? And if we didn't take the time to go through those, we wouldn't have that wow factor. We also wouldn't have the ability, I'm sure you've heard Jared say, data drives decisions. Not knowing that we have 51 clients, that really helps us recalibrate what our goals are for the next year and the year after that and our 3-year picture and all that good stuff. So, yeah, 51 clients in total. I mean,
it's huge. And I think the ability to celebrate and talk about it absolutely is motivating this time of year. I mean, people try to go into hibernation this time of year. They're checking out with family and holidays. But I think recognizing how far you've come on the journey and where you're going to go is absolutely critical to the vision for next year and the vision for our future.
Yeah, absolutely. I was hit with this just a few months ago when we were signing on new clients from outside of the United States and in Canada, and I was doing some conversions into different currencies, and I thought, how is it that this little farm boy from Provo, Utah is now doing the conversion rate on different countries and all these different states we're working with, and you're traveling to Canada back and forth and holding your own events, and it's just been such a fun year of growth. And to Jared's point, I think it's easy to get lulled to sleep this time of year and not already start focusing on what you're going to be doing next year. And just counting those things up already makes me say, and I think it makes all 3 of us say, what's next? If we did that this year, what can we do next year? And that's just fun.
It's amazing because we're at South Africa, Australia, the UK, Canada, the US, but we're going to Mexico next month for my birthday, and we have a small group of you that decided to be part of our Dreamers and Destiny program. And we got to find somebody in Mexico to join that, like a local that comes over to the resort and joins it, because then we have Mexico on the board too.
Grab somebody off the beach.
Yeah.
No, I love that you brought that up first, because that's the first one I wrote down, because that is actually where we started 2023. Yeah. And there's so many people in that group. Dr. Ashley Brogan comes to mind. There's so many people that were a part of that Mexico meeting in January of 2023 that have grown tremendously this year. And that's
Susan
where we're starting
well.
again.
Susan,
Susan's in there. Mm-hmm. Great people that are in that group. But Mexico is kind of our starting point for clarity breaks, recalibration with the team. Jared's bringing his staff, so we're doing quarterly planning session. Quarterly one-on-ones are happening there. It's a very, very productive 3 or 4 days together.
Yeah,
which is
you,
awesome.
you mentioned Susan Swain, who is one of our newer investors with the group. Bernice, kind of,
Yep.
she tries to hide in the background, but Bernice was there last year, and Laura Vinipol. So when you look at the group that's having the most success, that's the most aligned, that's attending the events, the group that's investing with me in Arizona, Texas, like, you can see that there's that group that's ready and chomping at the bit to get going. And we're so excited to have some new members this year coming to Mexico with us. It really is about your dream and your destiny. I think at this point, if you're meeting us in Mexico, you've realized you know how to run your business, and now it's incremental improvements, but now you're starting to dream. Now you're starting to talk about legacy and destiny and bigger impact in our profession and in your life.
Yeah, I think in a place where we always go, Jared, I've been fortunate to sort of go with Jared, has been my experience. This is the third time we're doing it. You can't be in a place like that in Cancun with Jared, who's already a big thinker, for 3 or 4 days and not leave and go back to your home with huge ambitions. Like, there's no better way in my mind to start your year with clarity, a little bit of relaxation, and a big thinker in the room that can help you look at your plateaus, which we have up behind me, and say, where are you currently and where do you want to be? And it's almost a relieving process for these business owners to come get away from their business, not be distracted, the cell phones aren't on, you're not logged into your email, and just think about where are you today and where do you want to be next.
I think the hard part, I remember Reese was like in the middle of some 36 marathon, something or other last year. So you can still be impactful. You can still commit to your hobbies and your habits and all of the things that got you to this level. But the thing that, really comes to me is where this started. And yes, it will be my birthday. But it was really that the end of the year is one of the most stressful times for me. I have to keep the team focused. I have to keep the team producing. I have to get through the holidays and the time off. And so I'm full speed ahead, charging to end this month, this quarter, and this year very, very strong, and have everything in place for a bang kickoff acceleration of 2024. And so once all of those things are clear, then I can take my vacation. And so people always wonder, is it really just the birthday? I'm like, no, I have to get through the end of this year and get into 2024, and then the team is smooth sailing and I can go take my time off, my clarity break.
Yeah. That's the only question my wife has asked me is Reese running in Mexico? And I've already told her no. He'll run, but he's not going to run like that.
Yeah,
so she'll be seriously disappointed if you do that again. If you're not joining us in Mexico, though, the thing I do want you to realize is you've got to schedule time, just like this video. As you watch us go through our wins and we're celebrating and we're enjoying, we're also planning for the future. You need to schedule that time before 2024 hits. So we do have an opening. I think we have one opening left for Mexico. Yeah. So if this hits you before the week of January 13th, email me, Morgan at Odd Experts, right away, because we do have one spot that's still left open. And I promise you, I guarantee you, the people that are in Mexico with us in a few weeks are going to be some of the highest achievers for next year.
Definitely. And for those that can't make it, for whatever reason, more than anything, you better be getting out your vision traction organizer. You better be looking at 2024 goals. You better be looking at the future, and making sure you and your team are aligned. So the most basic thing you have to do, regardless of Mexico, US, South Africa, Australia, UK, wherever you're at, is what are we doing in 2024 and beyond? And does the team have all the tools, strategies, tactics, and training necessary? If not, you better get on the phone with one of these two and make sure that 2024 is as best as it can be.
Absolutely. I love it. Now, we did have a ton of new content come out this year. So we've had things come out like the cookbook, the Mommy Kids book, a few other things that are on here. But Jared, the cookbook was a big one because it's in line with preventing decline and so many other things that you're doing. Why'd you even think of a cookbook? How'd it come about?
Look, it was a little out of order, I'm not going to lie. So the cookbook is part of cognitive rehabilitation and preventing decline, but it came out early, right? Keith got excited about it, took those pictures in the kitchen, made some recipes, worked with a nutritionist, and along with the cookbook goes our new relationship with a nutritionist, which you have the opportunity to meet in March in Scottsdale at the 2024 Preventing Decline Summit. If you haven't signed up for that, cognitivehearingcare.com, you're going to get to meet that nutritionist. You're going to get to see how nutrition, how cookbooks, how recipes, how supplements, how cognitive rehabilitation, how exercise all all comes together to make you the established and trusted authority in your marketplace. So you're going to want to be there. We also have, in addition to that, at that event, Dr. Cliff Olson coming and sharing the stage with Keith as well.
It will be a phenomenal event. You will walk away CDP certified, which is obviously amazing. CEUs are intact. And again, if you haven't registered for that event already, please take the time, pause this video, go do it.
So you talk about, we talk a lot about dementia and treating hearing loss and the 12 modifiable risk factors for the prevention of dementia. And hearing, of course, is what we do every day. But Dr. Darrow now has elevated to this preventing decline movement to talk about all 12. And so to your point, the cookbook and nutrition comes as one of the 12 modifiable risk factors.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, my favorite, as soon as the cookbook was done, I took it home to some grandparents that I have here in town. And their immediate question was, who'd you get this from? I said, it's from a guy I work with, is how I get to say it. But it's from Dr. Keith Darrow. She said, well, what's an audiologist doing writing a cookbook? And I think for me, that's the big flip. If there's a switch that anybody can flip starting the new year, is if we're seeing it with Smile Direct Club and we're seeing it in all these other places, is you've got to get outside your comfort zone and you've got to realize that you do more than ears. To Jared's point, you've got to understand that there's more that goes into your relationship with your patients than putting a widget behind their 2 ears. So
yeah. I definitely, and I think the marketing principle I would teach everybody there, as we've been teaching now for I think 9 years with a book, is to be different, not be better. And so once again, I love the question, why is an audiologist writing a cookbook? Why is an audiologist writing a book? Why is an HIS writing a book? Whatever it is, because that's catching attention, right? And the marketing principle there is be different, not be better. I asked the same question. Why was Reese running last year in Mexico?
But you guys are still talking about it, so I mean,
massive success. Jared, I'm just going to keep rapid firing some of these at you. So magazine changed a little bit as well, and that's in underneath the preventing decline realm and just overall education to the community. Magazines was a big success for you this year, and as a lot of people ordered them, they've been in Canada, they've been all over the place. Tell us a little bit about the magazine and what you saw.
Yeah, so I mean, we went from America's Audiologist, of course we went international, so we had to get rid of just America's Audiologist and get that a little bit bigger, but it also aligns with Preventing Decline. So 2 years ago, Preventing Decline, the medical treatment of hearing loss, Keith's book came out, and so now you're starting to see all of our marketing and all of our messaging going around treating the whole person, not just treating one of the 12 modifiable risk factors. A magazine in and of itself has a longer shelf life than a postcard, right? So if you look around your house, the postcard goes into the junk mail, it gets thrown away the quickest. The magazine will stick around, the catalog. Your wife this time of year probably has 4 different catalogs buying Christmas gifts. And then a book stays away. People don't throw away magazines and books as fast as they do junk mail. And so we're delivering educational content, innovative content to people so that we become that trusted authority.
I love that. There's one last educational piece that I'd love if you would touch on while we're on the subject, and that's Keith's newest book, the Tinnitus book, and just kind of touching on what that holds for the future, what you've already done with that, and then I'd love Reese to get involved with some of his trainings. But what's up with this new book that maybe some people on the video haven't seen?
Yeah, I mean, so I've wanted the Tinnitus book for a number of years. Tinnitus is always the #1 pain point for people with hearing loss, right? It's the thing they feel. Like hearing loss, you might be able to get by, you might be able to read lips, but like tinnitus causes physical, emotional, limbic system pain. And so our cost per lead, our cost per appointment, our cost per treatment is always a way better number when we talk about treating tinnitus. And I think you're seeing this movement. We had Craig Casper from talking about Lanier at the Tinnitus and Harvard Cognition event. And so tinnitus is in the top of mind. Tinnitus is something you're not going to have OTC treating. Tinnitus is something that's painful for the patient. And tinnitus is something that we have over an 85% successful treatment rate with. And so what you're going to see from us is the book. You have a whole new series of videos. We actually had a tinnitus package that was available for people where you could co-author the book, you could have the long-term tinnitus nurture, it comes with patient testimonials, it comes with all the research articles, it comes with physician marketing for tinnitus. I mean, there's so much in there, and you're going to see for the next 16 to 18 months brand new tinnitus content, brand new tinnitus ads on Facebook, brand new tinnitus ads on Google, brand new tinnitus for your website, tinnitus, because it is driving growth in our practices around the world.
Yeah, when you put it like that, we kind of gave the farm away. We probably should have charged a little bit more.
Look, ultimately here, right, we're here to help practices. We're here to help private practice grow, develop, market, educate, treat more patients. There is a significant cost in the production of most of those pieces. So producing the first book, producing the first series of videos, producing an event at Harvard comes with a significant cost. And what we're trying to do is, by aligning through this community at Odd Experts, by collaborating with one another, and by drafting off of what we're doing successfully at the Hearing and Brain Centers, you're able to get a good deal. Otherwise, I don't think any of our members would have written a book by now, let alone 2 or 3 in a cookbook and a kid's book.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There's so much behind the scenes that you all miss. I mean, to Jared's point, he's been waiting for the tinnitus book for years. Not to say that Keith's not capable of writing it or we couldn't have knocked it out sooner, but those things take time. Like Keith's first book took him years to write. The tinnitus book took him years to write. And when you get to excel your success off of somebody else's success, it's only going to make it quicker. There's no reason for you to go ground zero to recreate the wheel. When people have successful tools, you should use those tools. That makes you smart. And there's so much of that behind the scenes that I think people don't see. You shouldn't have to see.
I think that right there is compressing time. We teach it all the time. If you're finding ways to compress time and accelerate your actions by alignment, you're going to get much further ahead, right? And you can still customize it and tweak it and do it in a way that makes sense for your practice. But starting from ground zero is what's held us back as a profession and what made us rely upon manufacturers and OTC and third-party insurers. But we can do it together, and I hope that's why you're part of Odd Experts.
Yeah. Reese, the one I'm most jealous of, I'm going to tell you the truth, is the University of Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about that one often. So.
Well, there's kind of 2 big events for me this year, and I actually probably did more travel last year because we had a lot, new clients and things like that. But for me, this year was really about more stages. And so somehow some professor, Brian, saw me on Instagram in the algorithm, and he liked the sales tips and tricks I was putting out there. And he invited me to go speak in front of 100 students and talk a little bit more on sales and how that's a very valuable profession for people and how much that can impact your people's lives. And what was really cool for me is, I talk about communication, talk about audiology all the time. He really liked that I had this ultra running background, that made my story just different. It isn't normal for someone to run 31 miles a day, 3 days in a row on vacation in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
So
I appreciate you recognizing that.
I'm very well aware. And so it kind of excited the students a little bit when I visited because they were like, I'm their age. So it's like, wait, there's this kid who's my age, 23 years old. He's in sales, he's traveling, he's doing these crazy events and setting course records. And it was, even though I'm not the biggest advocate for motivation, I think discipline's more important. I'm usually in training and role play mode, but that was like a motivational presentation, which was really fun. It was different.
It was really cool. I remember seeing the game film from that.
Yeah.
It was really cool to watch you step onto that stage. Definitely be outside your comfort zone, but own it.
Yeah.
And we talk all the time, coming out of those types of events just make you such a better person in general, a better presenter, a better coach, a better teacher. It's just awesome.
Well, it's all great, and I think we all have stories to tell, and whether it's 1-on-1 or 1 to 10,000 is great. But with Brian, the professor who invited me out there, he is now on day 300, I think, of being in the gym every single day. And so, like, my running inspired him, and he's down, I think, 30 pounds. So, just like seeing that, me just being myself out there was impacting people in a bunch of different areas that I would have never even thought about because I talk about audiology.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think the big win for me, if you're watching this and saying, well, I don't do what Reese does, I'm not on social media, well, maybe you should be. Because one thing we talk about often is collaboration. Had Reese not been out there sharing the message that he has for the world, this gentleman wouldn't have seen it, which wouldn't have flown him to the University of Alabama, which wouldn't have made him as great of a presenter as he is today. He wouldn't have had so many of those shared experiences. We have clients in the group all the time that because they're posting, because they're printing those educational tools that Jared was talking about, because they're doing the things we're telling them to do, they're getting noticed by a physician, they're getting noticed by a chiropractor, and now they're doing a symposium on Facebook with a physician. There's 200 patients watching them, and those collaborations, whether that's through shared services, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, or the people that are in your hometown, people that are on social media, you've got to look for that collaboration everywhere. People like Douglas Beck and Cliff Olson that we're doing, you've got to look for those same opportunities. And had Reese not been out there sharing his message, it never would have happened.
Well, and that's the other big event for me, besides my own, but as far as like stages I was invited to, was the Phonax Nova event in Canada earlier this year as well, which was another great form of collaboration because we had some bigger presenters there, and Ashley was on stage. She was the one who connected me there, and those were people that had no idea who Odd Experts were, didn't know who I was, and we got a client or two out of that, and I'm training some teams from there that are coaching clients but still need help treating more patients. And so, I mean, that was pretty cool too, because I'm used to getting on stage with clients I know, but then to get on a stage with 100 strangers in audiology was
I was
pretty
going to
interesting.
say, the industry events are fun in their own way too, right? And
they are.
again, look at how much we walked away. Your professional growth, plus the clients, plus the future trainings. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue there just because you stepped on that one stage. So.
Well, I think the one thing that catches my eye is there is Reese kind of meandered into it. Like, I don't know how it happened. You do know how it happened, because I remember last year when you were changing all the colors on your social media, getting them all green, being disciplined.
Right.
Like, you were very, very serious about this disciplined approach. Like you are in your running, you were on social media. So, like, if Reese can do it and become this like Instagram sensation and build these connections, you can too. And I think you have to celebrate. You do know how you do it, right? And oftentimes people are like, well, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do this. But what would you tell them?
Well, so there's two things, and we've kind of covered it already. So for me, be different, not better. So of course I'm different. I run. I didn't do college. I am traveling the country in audiology, but not an HIS or audiologist. So like I'm different. And then I'm also just myself. I mean, there's nothing else to say to that. It's just like, this is who I am, and this is the way I speak, and these are the things I'm inspired by. And when you understand that when you're yourself, that doesn't mean everyone loves you. In fact, it means a lot of people may not necessarily connect with you, but the people that do connect with you super well because they're aligned with your true, honest values. So I think anyone could get to that point. The question I think a lot of people ask themselves is why it's scary, or like, I'm anxious, or I don't know where to start. But when you look at yourself and realize that you have something that a lot of people don't, and we all have that, just like Morgan's better at leadership than I am, and Jared's better at marketing than me, and I'm better at running, or the sales objections thing. We all have our thing, and when you realize people may never get that help unless you tell your story, once you start reminding yourself that you may leave people in their like abyss by themselves unless you reach out and help, I mean, that's plenty of motivation for me to get a little uncomfortable with things.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Reese just challenged us to running. So my new 2024 goal is to beat him in a 5K or
yeah,
something.
I like it. I like it.
And you turn into the market upside down.
So I mean, on that, another collaboration was Keith and South Africa.
Yeah, that was cool.
Phenomenal group down there. They actually took the time and the money and the energy to fly all the way to Harvard, which is another event we got to talk about because that was the first ever event we've ever held. But taking the time to fly all that way, she runs an amazing group, I believe in South Africa, the APPF group in South Africa, which has hundreds of people that join that group. She's now looking to take everything that she's learning from Odd Experts and Dr. Darrow back to South Africa and share that with all of her people that are a part of her group. And you almost can't measure that amount of impact because of one event in one relationship that Keith nurtured through his visiting of South Africa and all of these things compounding on one another. Now there's hundreds of people in South Africa that we would have never reached, just 3 or 4 people in the United States.
And Kara and Taryn both came to that event at Harvard, and I mean that was an amazing event. If you haven't seen the pictures, the videos,
so
the
cool.
video testimonials, the speakers on that stage, we'll be doing it again this year, 100%. You can't turn down that location, that science, and that forward-thinking innovation that is Dr. Darrow. So absolutely exciting event. Was there anything out of being at Harvard for you, Morgan?
Out of being at Harvard?
Yeah, like being there, the presence, the history, anything that...
I mean, the significance of the location, obviously, but you know me, I'm an old school dum-dum. It's not like schooling for me is, I don't hold that in as high of regard as Dr. Darrow. I had time one-on-one with clients, which I cherish the most. I had a huge breakthrough with one of the clients that was fortunate enough to bring one of their staff members to Harvard, and we sat down together and actually did a PPP session. So we actually took her through her personal, her professional, and her practice goals. There were tears involved, tears of joy, breakthrough session. I mean, it was really emotional. And for me, that was my biggest takeaway, was that 30 to 45 minute session with those individuals was just, I mean, you can't measure it.
So, I mean, I don't think you can measure anything Morgan does, especially when it comes to leadership. So, you tell us about that example, but what about all the practices you've worked with, the Leadership Summit? Like, where is leadership this year? You had a great guest speaker.
Yeah.
Where is leadership next year?
Yeah, so I think next year, I talked to you briefly about this. Next year, in my mind, I always want more people. I want more people involved. This was the biggest leadership. I'm extremely grateful for those of you that paid and took the time to travel. I think we had like 42 people in the room, amazing guest speaker. I want to take it virtual next year because this coming year, I want hundreds of people. I think I'm missing out on so many opportunities to help the people that are leading within your team. So not just the leadership team itself that's on your team, but your front office staff, people that want to learn leadership skills, but they can't, whether you can't fly them to me or they don't want to fly or whatever. So I want to take it virtually and reach out to even more people. And I think I'm still exploring if that's worth it or worth it to you guys or not. But
I love it. Yeah, I mean, that's just one impact, right? Reese, you traveled the country. Anything big in training coming from you? And then, like we said, we had Dr. Edwards last year was her first year training with us after I bought her practice. But what do you have? Anything in store? Anything that pops to your mind? Anything that you saw, new clients, old clients, anybody that wants to level up next year?
Yeah, so for me, as I develop as a trainer, I think something that we always should be looking at is how do we improve and how do we become the most efficient or most bang for your buck with your time, because as we get more clients, I have more people I work with, that's, you know, less time for other people. And I'm just getting much better at forcing role play. And it's funny to say that because I've always been the role play guy, but I'm finding myself more and more making people practice more and more. And it's just, I mean, anything new or shiny, I'm sure things will come up. I'm sure there's something I've been thinking about of like a body language and tonality course and going through some of those aspects of communication. But for me, I'm getting much better at making people practice, because sometimes those training calls can just be talk and it's just chatting and not really any sort of like productive, like building good habits. And so I'm just getting better at making people practice, and that's an important part. It's not talking about it. It's like, no, let's role play. Can I get a discount? Go.
Well, and I think I saw that this year, and I just had a construction client leave right before the start of this call, and I told Reese, I said, I'm going to need you in a hard hat and your shirt off to start teaching sales training to construction and contractors. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Reese, like, I've seen you level up their training. I've seen you build some little people that have started to follow you before, and now they're becoming trainers themselves in their practices. And what you're doing to see those little incremental improvements, I can only imagine that's what discipline is. That's what action is to you. That's how you run. That's how you change behavior.
Yeah, so, well, shout out to Jennifer Lazaro. She's definitely one of those examples where I've worked with her and Larry's team for 2.5 years now, pretty consistently, whether weekly or every other week or monthly. And there's this clip I've been playing of her for everyone that she sent to me, and it's 59 seconds long, and it's her going through all of costs and getting a patient to agree in 60 seconds. And it's just an incredible example of what's possible, not after one training, after weekly trainings, daily huddles, monthly role play sessions. And so, I mean, it's the consistency that's the most important part of this when it becomes, like I've been saying this to people recently, is when you're a new hire, you have a lot of things you got to worry about: inventory, turning on the lights, how to log in, clock out. After you get through all that stuff, your full-time job is becoming a better communicator with your patients. Like, that's the most important thing you could be doing, because if you can get more people to say yes, practice makes more money, you help more people. I mean, everyone wins in that situation. And so that consistency is incredibly important, and I'm just going to preach that until I die, because that's what you need to do, and we see it with Jen. I see it with Allie in Wisconsin, a lot of people out there who have just been consistent for so long. And so that training time, that role play time is non-negotiable if you want to become better and help more people.
Well, and I just shared with Reese, I mean, I know Jessica Nelson up
Yeah,
north.
that's
Trista
great,
and
yeah.
Jacob on my team now
Yep.
training in Arizona and Texas. You're working with them every Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
And I just see these people that you started with years ago now elevating themselves and having a greater impact. And just in St. George, we were up like 16% this quarter since you
Yeah.
started working with
Yeah.
them. And 16% in a practice my size, 16% anywhere is amazing, but 16% in a practice my size
Right.
has a huge impact.
Yeah.
So I can't, everybody wants new and shiny objects and what's happening in marketing, but I can tell you one of the biggest pockets of profitability is helping your team use better words, better language, better practice, better role play, and that covers phones, that covers finance, that covers reviews,
All of it,
referrals,
yeah.
live events, everywhere you go is going to come down to a human conversation. And if you're looking for better human conversations, more treatments, and more money, you got to talk to Reese. You have to have a 90-day, a 30-day, shoot, 3 sessions with Reese. You got to do something next year to take action and do more training.
I mean, this is the best way to put it. How do you get better at running? You run. And how do you get better at overcoming objections? You overcome more objections. And I think you should do that when the objections aren't real. Meaning, like, I don't want to, like, practice on a patient when they come in. I want to practice amongst the people that can support me so that I never fail that patient across from me or the one calling in. So more events, more time with me, virtual trainings and things this next year for sure, because that's only going to make you better.
So another big thing, you said more events, and for those that don't know, we started a front desk summit, we started a provider and audiologist summit, we started a phone summit, we have an upgrade summit. So we now have events where you can send your team almost every single month. There's a different summit in a different city, in a different place. Some of them are much easier to get to than St. George. We did that on purpose to help you out. And you're now having these structured events instead of just only virtual training. So how has that been for you to kind of expand from maybe a singular focus to much broader trainer now?
I mean, it's obviously great for me and my confidence, but I think it also helps me impact the industry a little bit more. I mean, the first year, really in Odd Experts for me, I did 1 treatment boot camp, and then I did another treatment boot camp the next year, and this year I did 2, 1 in Canada. So that was pretty cool, 40 people in Canada across the borders from me. And then, we just had the second treatment boot camp of the year here in St. George with a different set of people as well. So, I mean, that was just 2 events, doubling it, and next year, I mean, it's
The real
way
question I
more.
have for Reese is, have you change the language on your training so that you can go to all these countries? Like Susanna in Jordan, Morgan, like, do you know how to go and speak the other languages?
I need to, that
Rosetta
might be
Stone.
that might need to be my, like, next daily habit is different languages
You might
for
wanna
sure.
get on that.
What else we got, Morgan?
Under the guise of training aspect, one thing that did happen this year is lease ended. So how important was it for you, Jared? You're the clinic owner. When lease ended in your office, which was a huge change for a lot of people, we know behind the scenes not a whole lot really changed, but when that massive change hit the market and everybody found out that lease was over, how did the clinic respond, and what are you guys doing now?
Yeah, I mean, look, proper planning prevents poor performance. Being able to communicate with my team in a healthy way was very helpful. I have to thank both of you for that, because I wish I could just send one little text message and call it a day. But it didn't, because what we teach, one of the 4 pillars here at Odd Experts is mindset. And while lease was a widget or a product or a thing, the mindset of affordability and the mindset of making treatment align with the monthly treatment and the monthly payment is what we really taught. It might have been called Treatmentify, it might have been called Allegro, it might have been called Lease, it might be a credit card payment, but what we really did was change the human behavior of our team and our patients to understand they have a progressive degenerative disorder and the payment terms match the treatment terms. And so that's what we really did. It wasn't very bumpy for us at all. I haven't heard that it was bumpy for many clients, if any.
Yeah.
Really.
No, I think it actually went really smooth, but it's good timing after the training, because the reason that it wasn't bumpy is because we continued our training process.
Yeah,
It
that's
wasn't
the
like
thing.
the news broke and then we all went, well, what are we going to do? Let's stop and halt all production until we figure this thing out. It was constant training one after another, and Reese jumped on that really quickly. If you haven't seen, hopefully you have, on all of our training university, all of that content was flipped over to not include the word lease anymore. Subtle change, but a big change in a lot of people's minds. All that content was flipped within like
I
2
think it
weeks'
was
time.
within 2 weeks after lease lease officially ended, and you know, the Monday after lease ended, we were role playing. So I mean, that'll help you get ahead of any hiccups.
And that's why I bring that up, is one part of that success for us, because it was a major change for a lot of people. I took a lot of those phone calls from the clients that were worried, was constant training. The other side of solving that problem, which is going to happen at some point in 2024, something's going to happen to the business that you didn't foresee. Communicating with the team and constant trainings is one portion. The other thing is the speed of attack. And Jared's
Yeah.
always been really good at saying, when a problem comes up, let's solve it. It's one of the core values that he has in his business. But you've got to be ready to solve those problems immediately, even when they're things that you didn't know were coming, like lease. So for us, it ended up being a huge win because the staff is even more aligned than ever. Tell us, Jared, the 5 articles from Douglas Beck. That one's pretty cool. How did you guys collaborate with him, and what is the future of Doug and Auto Experts?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think if you look at, you know, Doug is a great leader. He's been around for a long time, and he has an element of science and relationships in the profession that I think anybody would be happy to share a stage with. So absolutely glad that he's here. But what we're really looking at inside of Excellence in Audiology, which is our list of member clinics. There's over 175 member clinics now in this network of private practice owners around the world. And what we're looking for is, you know, more voices, more leadership, more content. And so to have alongside Keith, have Doug Beck creating content that you can share in your practice allows us to move faster. It allows us to compress time. And so if we can do something for 175 practices, that's much easier than 175 different owners or 175 different staff members trying to do it themselves. Yeah. And because of the alignment, it's going to be universally fit. So we actually have the 5 articles already. They're built into automation systems already. They're available as hyperlinks on the excellenceинaudiology.org website. And Doug's coming in March to 2024's Preventing Decline Summit, both to speak and to shoot videos that go with that article series.
Yeah, and to your point, he's just a monster in our field. Who wouldn't want to have him collaborate with you? So it's been phenomenal to see what him and Dr. Darrow have done together. Now, I asked Jared this the other day. So Neuro Pathways, this was a brand new training module that Jared came up with this year. We filmed a ton of video. I don't even know how many videos are in there, 50, 100 videos that are in there.
Keep going.
200 videos that are in there. The other day I said, Jared, now, why the heck did you name it Neuro Pathways? Doesn't make any sense to me. And then he smacked me across the face and told me why he named it that. So will you tell everybody else so I'm not the only one that didn't know?
Well, the rest of them are a little bit higher than I think you called yourself a dum-dum level.
Exactly.
So neural pathways, right? The brain, you're rewiring the circuitry in your brain. You're changing your mindset. You're changing your culture. You're connecting the dots about what's going on. And for me in my practice, we added 8 locations in the last 12 months. And in order to add 8 locations and 20 staff members, you better have a very, very strong how to start a new clinic packet. You better have a very good onboarding and training system. And you better have training and recalibration modules that are constant. They're always improving, they're always sharpening, and it helps a new person understand what we do. Yeah. Disney has the Disney traditions that have been around and what it means to work at or be a part of Disney, and we have neural pathways because at the Hearing and Brain Center, it's about connecting those dots, and you're seeing that in Preventing Decline Summit. You're seeing the fact that we're connecting the dots beyond hearing. We're connecting the dots with exercise. We're connecting the dots with supplements. We're connecting the dots with sleep. We're connecting the dots with nutrition because we have to rewire the neural pathways of the brain of our team members and the brain of our patients so that they can live their best lives, be the best version of themselves, and grow their own legacy and future.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess just know the definition of neural pathways and you'll be more advanced than Morgan was. But Jared just really quickly dropped there, starting a new clinic.
Yeah.
So that is something that Jared has obviously been working on for years now. It's been in the works. It's another one of those things that you guys don't see behind the scenes. But what Jared is sharing with everybody is the How to Start a New Clinic manual. And that's from the ground up. That's like, I find a building that I like, and then in the manual is the chairs and the light switches and the da-da-da-da-da.
So, I mean, look, I have the pleasure of helping many of you add locations. Nationally, last year closed some locations on purpose. We have members like Bryce Cropper looking to add new locations. If you've never done it, or if it's been 15 or 20 years since you've done it, and you're looking to add your second, third, 10th location, I've done it. I've added multiple locations. I added 8 in 12 months. I'm telling you that's no easy task, but it is doable once you have the instructions and the guideline. And that is everything from how to pick a market, how to pick the cabinets, how to pick the chairs, what the drawers should look like, what equipment you're needed, what the cost of the equipment is. Like, it really is, this is how easy. And we have it down to, the last office was just over 30 days. So it was about 36 days that we actually went from signing the lease to having treatments being started, was in 36 days. So when you start going at a scale, look, our next plateau that we're going through is $25 million. So when you have a goal to hit the $25 million plateau, you better know how to open a clinic, because you're going to be opening 4 or 8 or 12 a year, and you need your team aligned with that process. So, I mean, that's what it was all about. If you're looking to expand, grow, we have a product, we have coaching, we can help you. We've been there, we've done that, and we're currently doing it.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing that a lot of people maybe don't realize that are a part of the coaching group is the things that you see Jared or Keith or us come out with, whether it's trainings or materials, products. They're things that were birthed through the struggles and the trials and tribulations of Jared's clinics. So one thing that definitely separates Odd Experts from anybody else that's in audiology is he owns the private practices. So we're still in the game just like you are. We still have payroll that has to be made, the units that have to go out, the patients that need treatment. All those things are still a reality for us. We're not just a group of people sitting behind a desk that used to see patients 15 years ago and we're out of the game. So when Jared comes out with things like that, like the manual or our onboarding process or our trainings, those are all things that we're doing in our office, and it's why we have the success that we have. To Jared's point, when he's growing and scaling, it's because he's built this foundation that is rock solid. The most recent one is these trainings with Keith and Reese together, because that's what Jared's staff needs right now. Is Jared found an astronomical number, which we're going to talk about hearing and brain centers here in a second, but Jared found some crazy number in his clinic of the patients that went untreated in the last month or something, and it was outrageous. So Jared said, what I need in my clinic is Dr. Darrow and Reese together for 12 sessions to whip my staff into shape. And so those things that come from us, they come from a place of, here's what we're doing in our office that's breeding success for us.
You know what we should really do? We should really sell the How to Start a Clinic 13 Years Ago manual. Do you remember when I had you climbing in and out of that dumpster, like trying to haul? I was like middle of the night, 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Morgan's in there like scraping up carpet. Yeah, we don't do that anymore. So we do have it. We do have it. We've been there. We've been there with you. I've done it myself. And I wouldn't recommend something that I haven't done or practiced or perfected in my practice. So if you're working with a group, a buying group, a coaching group, if you're working with some vendor who hasn't been in the game or who just graduated college and has never owned a business or is telling you what maybe should work, I can tell you it did or it didn't, and I can tell you the actual boots on the ground experience. So we'd love to have you in the group, love to help you accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish in your business, your life, your legacy in 2024 and beyond.
I'm realizing how long our list is here, so we got to keep going. Look at the Odd Experts list for me, boys. Let me know if there's something that we missed. Jared, from you, I would love to hear about Harmony and Balance really quick.
Yeah.
What we're going to do next is jump into the plethora of other businesses that Jared owns, which is one of my favorite things to talk about with him. And you can't see what I can see, but we're going to jump into 5 or 6 other businesses that Jared runs. These are the ones he's told me about. I'm sure there's more than this. But before we go there, anything we missed, and then Harmony and Balance.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really for me. You got anything, Reese, that you want to?
This looks good.
So Harmony and Balance, and Reese just said he loves this. Maybe we'll let him talk about it. But everybody says, Jared, how did you guys accomplish so much? How did you guys take over the world? How did you dominate a market? How did you buy clinics in Texas and start clinics in Arizona at the same time from the ground up? And it really comes to, and the number one thing I hear is, how did you do it with work-life balance? And I think that's just a misnomer. I don't think we can talk about balance, because in my mind, work-life balance means for every hour I spend working, I spend an hour on vacation. Or for every hour I work, it's a teeter-totter, which means one thing has to give up for another. And Harmony, to me, is bringing them, I like the Aligned Actions Accelerate Achievement, and I think that my personal life, my business life are in alignment. I think they're in harmony, and it might mean that I work my butt off at the end of this year, and maybe I don't celebrate Christmas to the fullest extent like some of you do, but then I'm going to be in Mexico, right, in January. And the reason for that is because the end of the month, the end of the quarter, the end of the year, the end of the decade, whatever it is, right now is the most critical time to finish the year strong and start next year. But I'm going to make up for it. I'm going to go on a kick-ass vacation.
Yeah.
We're going to have a kick-ass group. It's going to be relaxing and it's going to be refueling and fulfilling. And so I talk about this harmony there, that all of this, whether it's providing for my kids or my wife or my brother or my dad or my sister, I don't even have a sister, but whoever I'm providing for is absolutely, it's in harmony. And it's what I do and it's what I'm passionate about. And therefore we can move fast, we can conquer much, and we can get a lot done together.
Yeah, balance is just like equal. It's fair, right? And that's just, I don't believe that's what life is. As a runner, I actually just ended it was a 933 day running streak. So every single day for 933 days I ran, every single day. And that was not balance. Like it wasn't like, but it was harmony in the sense that I really focused on my physical fitness, my mental growth, my mental grit. And that led me to setting 2 course records, winning I think 5 races in the last 2 years, and doing some pretty interesting achievements, raising $20,000 for the Sound of Life Foundation when I ran 10 marathons in 10 days. So that streak, I wouldn't say was balanced in my life, but I went through this phase where it was harmonic in the sense that my physical fitness was really important to me for a while, and now I've actually been off of running for 2-3 weeks now, and I've been getting more into spending time with family, a little more focused on work, and planning for 2024. So the balance I don't think is a really great word. Anyone who does something great or excels far, they have a little bit more of this harmony where it's a movement and it's a shift. It's not equal, because if we wanted to balance out the day, that would mean 4 hours of sleep, 4 hours of work, 4 hours of eating, 4 hours, and that's just not how life is.
And I think, Morgan, one thing I just used as an example the other day is the people around me, the people that talk about work-life balance, good or bad, what I've seen, my limited world, is they're the ones that are struggling. They're struggling financially, they're struggling in their family relationships, like they have a scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah,
This idea of balance and scarcity. And the people that understand harmony and abundance seem to be able to grow, right? And I know, look, I probably am gonna get Morgan divorced, but like I'll text you sometimes at night or on a weekend, or probably more than sometimes.
On
It
my
might be a lot.
birthday, on my birthday, on
2 a.m.
Your wife's anniversary, right?
Yeah.
But and those either go ignored or they get answered. But at the end of the day, we're in harmony on what we're trying to accomplish. And then you might go to Disneyland for 10 days.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there isn't
And that's
balance.
not balance, yeah.
Yeah, right?
So
10
right.
straight days off or 2 weeks off or
It's
the
not
ability to
equal.
leave on a Wednesday. It's not equal.
Yeah.
But it allows you to have the vacations you bought a rental property. We didn't even talk about your rental property.
Yeah.
But is that balanced? Right?
I totally agree with you. When we were talking about this the other day, I'm like, it makes so much sense to me. The only other thing that I would add to your list is, and you would agree with this, I'm sure, the people that feel out of balance, they definitely have a scarcity mindset. I don't have enough time. My kid's relationship is fading. I don't have enough money. The money, Scarcity for sure. The other thing is the people that feel out of whack, if you will, are the people that don't have a strong, compelling vision. Like they also lack this ability to sit down with a blank piece of paper and a pen and say, in 3 sentences, write down for me what you're trying to accomplish with your business. And I think that's really hard, because there's going to be people watching this video that just say, Jared's different. He's not a mom. He doesn't have 6 kids. He's not trying to do this and this and this. But I assure you, if we were to stack up what does Jared have on his plate versus what do you have on your plate, it isn't even in comparison. So yes, he's different from maybe your current situation, but the scarcity mindset is dangerous. What's far more dangerous than that is not having a clear vision that you can articulate to the people around you. And then if you're surrounding yourself with people that don't agree with that vision, if Reese is trying to run 100-mile marathons and I want him to eat junk food every day, I want him to stay up until midnight playing video games, I want to go out boozing and drinking and doing drugs, that's going to pull him in a direction that he doesn't want to be in. And so if your personal life or your coworkers or the people that work for you are not in line or harmony with what that vision is for you, it's going to pull you out of whack constantly. But those people that are struggling, they cannot define. Pause this video, pull out a blank piece of paper, and in 3 sentences write down what you're going to accomplish in 2024. And if that's hard for you, it's an excellent starting point.
And you got to write it down. You have some statistics on that. You got to write it down, and then you need a buddy too to hold you accountable
Correct,
to it,
yeah.
right? And that's going to make you go through the roof. I was just thinking about Harmony because Courtney, my youngest, was in here the other day with Dr. Elliott, videotaping some videos for Dr. Elliott's Pennsylvania clinics and automation, right? And I just said, like, do I spend a lot of time with Courtney? No, but when I do spend it with Courtney, it was at my office with a client recording videos, right? Or my dad who comes in and works here. I get to spend time with my dad, but we're in harmony in what we're both trying to accomplish. Time and proximity, connection, relationship, and accomplishing the vision traction organizer of the businesses that we're working on, right? So you're starting to see the harmony grow within my life and within my connections to where how big of a basket of harmony can I actually get?
Yeah, and the only way that you can do that is because your dad, your wife, your fake sister that you don't have, all these people in your life, they understand your vision.
Yeah.
It's not like you just said, "Hey, Dad, do you want a job?" You said, "Dad, here's what I'm trying to accomplish with the business, and here's how you fit into that." And he said, "Hell yes" or "Hell no, I'm in." And now you have this harmony that he's willing to show up and do it. Courtney's saying, "Okay, I understand why these videos are important to you or why it needs to get done. Heck yes, I'm in. Let's do it." And that it's just so important.
Yeah.
You know, I love that saying of the bigger the why, the easier the how, and that's what I've seen time and time again with this harmony subject.
I love it. So when you talk about harmony, this new thing, 2.5, I think, years ago, maybe 2.5, we founded Excellence in Audiology, this network of private practice owners who could align behind a common brand, Excellence in Audiology being the common brand. Because you have your own business, you have your own business name, you have your own location, you have your own region, but a lot of the things we do from a marketing and education standpoint, we can be unified in. We had great founding members, Kim and Lane Garrett, Mia and Eric Mounts, Laura and Frank Vinipol, great founding members that said, here, Jared, we will invest in this concept, in this big vision that you have, knowing that it's going to take some time for us to recoup that investment and to see it really take off. So here we are, I think it's 2.5, don't quote me, I think it's 2.5 years later. We've taken on new members. We now have ancillary business services that can help you on the shared services side. So 175 locations. If you go to excellenceinaudiology.org, you can find a local provider. You're certified, you understand the education, you understand Dr. Darrow, you align with what we're doing from a private practice standpoint, and then we have the shared services component of that, which is things like bookkeeping, things like automation, things like digital ads, websites. We did physician marketing is the newest thing. It launches next week. Physician marketing for local private practices. And what we're doing is compressing time. What we're doing is allowing you to draft off of what I've already done, proven, and practiced in my own practices. And now you get it for cheaper, faster, and it's already pretty much done for you. And now we're going to be able to treat more of the 42 million or 1.5 billion, whatever country, state, or number you want to use, with hearing loss, hidden hearing loss, tinnitus, and at risk of cognitive decline and dementia.
Yeah, and I love, if you're a member of AudExperts and you go to excellenceinaudiology.org, you'll see your name there, which in and of itself is amazing. You're not going to see another group in audiology that's willing to do that for you guys. The student program really wowed me, and that's been, I think, all Vinipol's and some help from Keith, obviously, and you guys, but that student program, we really saw take off this year. The Harvard event was full of students, and there were also a ton of students at the Neuroscience Boot Camp in May. So she's done a ton of work behind the scenes, I know, with you on the student program.
Well, the student program, yes, Dr. Laura Vinipol has been great. Keith has been great. He's actually on some accreditation boards now to change the future of audiology via the student programs. We had like 20-something at Harvard. We're planning on 40-something in March at the 2024 Preventing Decline Summit. Brian Bureau, I can't call him doctor yet. He's afraid his professor is going to get mad at him. But he'll be graduating. He's a student in my clinic. He was kind of the ambassador of the students at Harvard. He's written a book to tell his journey. And what we really aim to do here is get to the future of audiology earlier, teach them what private practice is about, inspire them to be a part of your member clinics, whether you're in Virginia or California or Utah or anywhere in this country or world. where you can have aligned people coming out of school. Instead of coming out of school and then needing to be retrained, we're going to train them right from the beginning. The movement is growing. The younger, we have second-year students, third-year students, fourth-year students. It's absolutely amazing. Look, hiring has become super easy because we have a student funnel, we have a hiring funnel. Like, growth becomes easy if you piggyback on what we do. If you draft on what is successfully working, if you're part of shared services, you have access to students, physician marketing, automation, digital marketing, bookkeeping, IT services, and you're going to have a plethora of more services that are very, very cheap in comparison to hiring in-house or even hiring vendors. So I'm glad we can help. If you need that, reach out to Justin at excellenceinaudiology.org. If you need me or Morgan to make an introduction, we're happy to do that as well.
Yeah, and the shared services, again, it all stems from things that Jared has already proven in the clinic. And I think that, for me, if I'm a business owner out there and I'm looking to spend money somewhere, 10 out of 10 times I'm going to spend money with somebody that is already successfully doing that thing. So if it's IT, it's keeping your books in order, whatever it might be, I'm spending my money with people that are doing it in a way that is in line with the way I want to do it. So plain and simple.
Definitely for me, it fits the harmony, right? You're already going to need those things, and now you're in a coaching and collaboration community that it can grow now. Together we can grow. Together we can have access to those things for cheaper. We can move faster, and we can have better results as a community.
Yeah. Just one last question, Jared, on EIA, Excellence in Audiology. Is there any changes 2024? Is there anything marketing-wise? Is there shifts? I know you guys are in Utah. You're seeing like tremendous success, I think, from TV ads. Mm-hmm. Is it a radio ads, TV ads? Any changes coming up in 2024?
I mean, I wouldn't say changes, but I would say additional, right? As more members join, as you contribute more, your ROI is going to be higher. So we have television ads, we have Google ads running, we have national components with Dr. Darrow. And if you want us to test in your market and show us, I mean, you have to let us introduce you to Josh and Justin over there, but we can get you the data of what it could do in your community and how having this overarching umbrella of marketing support and growth support can help you in your practice. We have the data. Just ask us to make an introduction. We'll get you there. The next big thing is things like the Dr. Cliff collaboration, right? Yeah. So the Dr. Beck collaboration. If Nashley, I talked to her today, she's going to shoot some videos for EIA. What you're going to see Excellence in Audiology do is become that patient-facing interaction and engagement tool that will help you drive new cash pay treatments throughout the country and the world.
Yeah, I love it. Now, preventing decline. This is a fun one because we have events that are happening for the first time ever. There's an entire room full of supplements in the other room over there, fulfillment centers, all this crazy stuff. Where can you start us on preventing decline?
Yeah, I mean, you want to come to March, right? Come to the Mastermind in March. We're going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona. Come to the 2024 Preventing Decline Summit. You can register at Cognitive Hearing Care. If you really want to see the whole thing start to finish, that's where you need to be. And you're going to experience it all. What it really, really is Dr. Darrow's vision of treating all 12 of the modifiable risk factors for preventing dementia. And really, dementia decline, you want to use those to some extent interchangeably, right? And we have a nutritionist on board now. We have an exercise physiologist on board. We have some sleep study people on board. We have a lot coming to hit those 12 modifiable risk factors and really integrate hearing healthcare into mainstream healthcare and into preventing decline for our aging population. So functional fitness assessments, supplementation, healthy eating, exercise, sleep. What you're going to see is our job, which is really to keep people socially engaged, not isolated, socially participating, thinking, reducing their tinnitus, cognitively sharp. So much coming in the cognitive rehabilitation and the preventing decline avenue. Absolutely fantastic. You can be a part of it. You can monetize it. You can increase your training with Reese and the team on how to use it in your clinic. You can improve your marketing. You can differentiate. You can dominate. There's so many things that you can do by taking that shift with us. If you've been with us for any length of time You saw when Dr. Darrow spearheaded the medical treatment of hearing loss. You saw when Dr. Darrow was talking about neuroscience before anybody else. You saw things like neurotechnology before
Stages.
anybody else. You saw the stages of hearing loss before anybody else. You've seen a cookbook, you've seen supplements, and you're going to be wowed in 2024 and beyond with where we're taking the innovation and education of both patients and providers in audiology.
Yeah, I wish we could clip that right there, but we're not even halfway. So stick with us here. The thing with preventing decline, Jared, that I think about all the time, and this might be a little bit petty, but it is what it is. This is the thing that I get the most questions on maybe in the last maybe 2 months. I get the most questions. You get staff member questions. I get coaching client questions. What's Jared doing with supplements? What's Keith doing? What's doing? Jared's a master of hype building. You got to remember, Jared is a marketer first and foremost. So his job is to get you guys excited. I'm excited. The thing with preventing decline that I think about all the time is I think about these social media groups that audiology is just famous for, and they're in there talking back and forth about this new audiometer that they got and this new widget thing. And Jared and Keith are out here building an entire company based around helping people age actively. And that to me is like I mentioned my grandparents that said, well, what's an audiologist doing right in the cookbook? It's like what these guys are working on behind the scenes, the stuff you guys don't get to see, is so out of this world. It's so far beyond where audiology is currently. It's 10 years into the future. And that's what I think is the most fun, is behind the scenes to watch this stuff get built slowly and get dripped out to the people in the group that are asking the right questions. And then come March 2024, let everybody see what you guys have
Well,
been
and just a sneak peek for those that are going to be in Mexico as of right now, Kevin Weston will be there. His new book will be there, Preventing Decline, Move with Purpose, right? So Preventing Decline, Move with Purpose. It's how to slow the aging process and how to add more life to your years. Right? So we're talking about living better. We're talking about wellness. We're talking about treating this population of patients, which we already have a relationship with. We have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people in our network around this country and the world that need this thing, right? And this thing is a treatment plan. And that treatment plan includes products, services, coaching, health and wellness coaching, supplements, cookbooks, nutritionists, exercise, sleep, all of it. Because what we're trying to do, what Dr. Darrow specifically is trying to do, is prevent decline.
You know how people are like, I should have bought Bitcoin back in 2011. Like, this is one of those things where it's the
so
future.
true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
And look, I mean, Susan Swain and Ashley Brogan both have some codes. They've also been recommending to their patients, if you've used the magazine, it had supplements. Like, let's not forget that it is launching. The grand opening is in March, but we've been beta testing now for months. It's actually happening in clinics across the country right now. There's actually people and patients using it. We have, I almost gave away the secret there. We have a couple different marketing channels that are launching right now. We have automations built behind it. It's going to be something that you want to be a part of, and it's something that's going to help you, once again, differentiate and dominate in your market.
Yeah, I mean, the supplement industry alone is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Look up the statistics of 55 to 75-year-olds that are using supplements, sleep aids. I mean, it's astronomical. Reese isn't wrong in the fact of you're going to be left behind if you're not doing your own research and following along with what Keith and Jared are building. So, clinics, Jared. You ready for this? I mean, possibly one of the biggest portions of your life is the clinics. I mean, it's the backbone of so much of this stuff is built
Biggest
upon.
portions or biggest headaches?
Both, depending on the day and the week and the month and the year. Tell us about the Hearing Brain Centers of America, starting with, you guys went through a huge rebrand. Yeah. This is something I hear from clients all the time. I want to change my name. I bought a clinic, but I got 2 clinic names and that. You started by merging everybody under one umbrella, correct?
Yeah. So we brought 3 brands. We had New Sound Solutions, Intermountain Audiology, and the Hearing and Brain Centers. We're all Hearing and Brain Centers now. Unified the branding, unified the logos, all the marketing automation. The websites are all there. There's a few little straggling pieces, but for the most part, I'd say 95% complete, bringing it all under one brand. Hopefully those don't turn into Preventing Decline stores nationwide, but definitely it was a fun year. 8 new locations, over 20 new hires, absolutely fantastic to watch, and such micro tests, right? So in Texas, we were able to acquire practices In North Texas, we acquired very well-run practices from Dr. Terry Edwards, who was a coaching client. In South Texas, or down in Austin, we purchased third-party practices, people that were doing low-end and third-party. So if you want to know how to acquire a third-party practice and turn it into a cash pay practice, we got you covered. If you want to know how to buy a good practice and then like remove things like insurance and then make it a little bit more profitable, we know how to do that. In Arizona, we started 3 clinics from scratch in a huge metro area that's supposedly very competitive, that has all these insurance things, and I can tell you about that. So like whatever you're looking for in audiology, or whatever you're thinking about doing, I'm telling you, I've been there and I've done that as we've moved through the private practice plateaus from $438,000 a year in revenue to over $1 million a month in revenue, and our next number is $25 million.
Yeah, you closed some offices along the way,
Yeah.
correct? You closed 2 offices. I think the word you used for Ashley was on purpose.
Yeah.
So they understand that you closed
Yeah.
them on purpose. But that's a major change that I've seen from you, Jared, over the years. I remember when we closed Wyoming. I remember Hurricane. It was a battle. It was an emotional struggle for you to close clinics. So what's that like for you this year to have that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's way less emotional. I think we did it in 60 days this year, right? So, like, it was less than a quarter where we made the decision, if this doesn't turn around, we're going to combine these 2 offices in Texas and we're going to stick with our winners. And we did that. Dr. Murphy just last week, a $50,000 a week.
Amazing
you know?
team member.
That's
So-
awesome.
That's your next manual, by the way, is how to shut a clinic with no emotion, just how to get it done.
I mean, in
60
all
days.
truth, we're still paying on the lease for a few more months, and all of the audiology equipment is still sitting there, waiting to be dispatched to office number 4 in Arizona.
And you're still coming out ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I can't tell you how many times that conversation is had on the coaching call. and I'm
Well, I
like,
mean, Ashley's a great example. She took 3 offices, combined them
Great
into
example.
1, and she's hitting records and doing well. And what that is yet again, aligned actions accelerate achievement. So oftentimes, personally, professionally, within the practice, we have competing needs, and those competing needs are actually slowing us down. And the quicker that you can solve that, the quicker you can align team members, the quicker that you can align offices, the faster you will have success. We just did it down in Arizona with some retraining and recalibration. The old Jared would have given these new doctors more time, and this time I just said, Reese, Keith, I need you guys on the phone and I need a training plan. And the quicker that we do that, we're having a record December.
Absolutely. One thing that's really fun this year, and it started years ago, I understand that, but this year is a lot of fun to watch the team leaders' growth from a leadership perspective and a team training perspective. Boy, this year we have seen people like Trista step up her game big time as a trainer and as a leader in the team. Jacob, Spencer, Will. I mean, I don't want to name names because now other people feel bad, but there's people on your team that have really stepped up into a leadership role and into a training role. And it's been really fun this year to see that with no director of operations in place, them having team leaders that they can go to and the team leaders coming to Jared, I think is working awesome. How's your life?
Yeah, it's absolutely great. I wish I had more team leaders, right? I wish I had more team leaders. I wish I had more middle leaders. I wish I had more leaders from within. Leadership. Absolutely fantastic. I think it started with that trip to Mexico last year.
That's what I
We
was
brought
thinking
Trista, we brought those team leaders to Mexico and said, look, the more time you can spend with Jared, even if it's in Mexico, the more aligned we can be, the faster we can move as a team. And that 1 year, people are like, well, how'd you bring so many people? I'm telling you, I opened 8 new clinics in 1 year. So was it worth a trip to Mexico and a plane ticket and a hotel and a few days on the beach? Hell yeah. Right? So we're doing it again this year across the organization. And what those team leaders allow me to do, it's not perfect by any means, is the next version or iteration of Jared or Reese or Keith never going to be as good. But they're on their own journey, and years from now they will continue to improve, and then they'll make more leaders. And so your job as a leader is to make more leaders, and that makes growth and scaling so much easier. Absolutely so much easier.
Well, and also gives employees a reason to stick around, right? It's
Sure.
like, why are your employees staying with you when they could go to some other clinic? And for them, they have a future.
Yeah. Well, just last week we had a record 1 week in all of the clinics, but St. George was down, and it used to be that the St. George clinic had to carry the load,
Carried everybody.
right?
Yeah.
But now, because of so many new offices, so many great new team members, the weight is more evenly balanced, and so now it's even more of a team effort. And so I can't thank everybody enough. It's been a great year. 8 new clinics.
Yeah, and this one was never done before. 3 symposiums in a day.
Yeah.
2024. Are you going for 4 or 5? Are you trying to kill Keith? What's the
Look, Look, 3 symposiums in a day in Arizona was absolutely fantastic. I tell each of you, if you're not doing live events, do live events. If you're doing live events, do more live events. And if your live events are working and profitable, do even more live events, right? So you got to take action. Look, it's great that Keith did 3. The guy could talk all day long. We all know that. So what
You said
I'm
it,
more
brother.
impressed about is I have Dr. Murphy, right? 4 months out of school, maybe 5 months, did her first event. Brian Bureau, a 4th-year student, is doing his first event next month. Katie Seaver, another new doc on my team, within her first 4 months doing a live event. Dr. Sterling's done more live events than I can count Dr. Burrows. So it's exciting when Keith can do 3 in a day, 100%. What's more exciting is to see how many people have got with you and got access to the Dr. Darrow Speaks from Stage module. We have a whole training program on how Dr. Darrow did it, what his PowerPoint looks like, what his research looks like, and how to effectively run an event. And we've seen Nashley do this amazingly up in Canada. She's doing it for Bernice and Barb and all these other people. What I would tell you is when you can get your staff to start doing it, now I have like 6 little Dr. Darrows out there doing these events, and it's absolutely fantastic. Their impact is growing, their treatments is growing, it's amazing.
Yeah, like gremlins.
Yeah.
It's
Just- yeah.
out there. Amazing year at HBCA,
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
without a doubt. Have you, I guess, the other thing I want to mention about HBCA, we just talked about this, your quarterly planning session is going to take place in Mexico. So anybody that is in Mexico is going to see Jared's team leaders live in person, work through a quarterly planning session. We'll spend about 4 hours together talking about 2023 and all the success, as well as setting the goal for 2024, which is going to be pretty awesome to see. So, last but not least, Jared.
No, I want to talk, actually,
Okay,
one more thing.
go ahead.
So on the clinics, everybody said, what about Arizona? What about Texas? And I think the biggest thing to realize here is Jared did not need 8 new clinics last year, personally. But it's about their future, right? And so now in Arizona, I have 6 people, young, new to the profession, that can build a career and an impact and hopefully have the same success over time that I've had over the last 13 years. And it wasn't about me. There was never like Jared needs another clinic. This truly was, how do I grow the profession? How do I grow the students? How do I grow the new doctors? How do I give another 20 people a career where they can earn what they need to earn and live their best life? And so I think the difference there is don't get stuck doing new clinics maybe just because. Do it with a passion or a why. And for me, it's much easier to say, let's do 4 more clinics in Arizona, let's do 2 more clinics in Texas, because I'm helping other people now into private practice, which has been so good to me and my family.
Yeah. And I love the way Reese put it. You've got to give your employees a reason to stick around. The world is getting more competitive with pay, people working from home because of COVID. There's a lot of opportunity out there for people that are good employees, and your good employees that you have, they need a reason to stick around. So if your goal for next year is to just do more of the same, guess what? Your employees are going to end up on Indeed searching for what else is out there in the ether that's bigger and better.
Do you see that with the coaching clients, though? The ones that don't have that strong vision we talk about, who aren't marching towards something bigger, are their employees more disengaged,
Unengaged,
less
yeah.
motivated, less connected? And for me, I launched an ad yesterday for a new doctor in our 4th Arizona location, and within 30 minutes, I had the person. I already know it's going to be the person. Like I can just tell by age, I can tell by experience, I can tell by who they're connected to on LinkedIn that they've been watching and engaged and they want to be a part of this movement. It's just easy, right?
Yeah.
But what
When you
about
know
the
what you're
clients
looking
that are
for.
stagnant?
Yeah, lack of productivity, big lack of revenue, just engagement. Reese probably sees this on his training when there's no goals or they're not trying to provide more value for the business. They just sit in the background and kind of float along their day. I'm sure that's true on the training side. What I see is more people problems. So the more and more questions or comments I get from the business owner is, I have people problems. They don't care, they're showing up late, they're unengaged, there's too many sick days. All of that is a combination of, I don't know why I'm existing here, and I don't know what the future holds for me. And it doesn't have to be more clinics, by the way. The clinics that you've built, let's say you're doing $2 million next year, if you can give your staff members goals, like creating a new process in the office, or implementing a new piece of equipment like CogniView, or documenting something, or live events, or giving them a stage to speak on, you can still give them growth if new clinics is not your passion. but you still have to give the staff the opportunity to grow personally, professionally, and of course financially. I mean, that's a huge part of all of our lives.
I'm glad you made that point because Nashlie is a great example.
Yeah.
It's not growing. She shrunk her practice by going to one location and is making more money than ever. Most engaged employees from that perspective. So it doesn't have to be expansion
Exactly.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the thing
Yeah.
to remember there is if you can't give your team or your employees a brighter future, somebody else can. Now, that can be somebody else that competes with you, or that might be Jared. You might say, I want to align my clinics with Jared's clinics. I want to be an investor in hearing and brain centers. I want my clinic to be one of the next 8 new locations for hearing and brain centers. I want to earn distributions and not have to deal with people problems. I want to earn a return on my investment that I've built for the last 15 years. And more owners are reaching out to me saying, I don't want more people problems. I don't want more marketing funnels, and I sure as hell don't want more third parties. But I want to capitalize on what I have built, and I want to let the next generation build upon it, grow it, and help me earn more and help my team earn more. So if you're looking for what do I do from an exit strategy, or how do I take some of the pressure off of my plate and draft on what Jared's doing, like, let's talk about being an investor. Let's talk about contributing your practice. Let's talk about your exit strategy, and maybe you'll be one of those investors like some of the ones I already have, Nashlie and Susan and Kim and Lane and Laura and Frank and who am I missing? Morgan
Yeah.
and Reese and
Nice. Appreciate that.
and these people who have said, no, we believe in the future. We understand your leadership. We understand what you've done in the last 13 years. You're only 37 and the future's bright. Let's talk about that because there could be a win-win-win for your employees, for yourself, and for us as well. Absolutely love to have you. We're working on a deal right now in New Mexico. So New Mexico would be the next state, and of course growing in northern Utah, growing in Arizona, Phoenix Metro, growing in Austin, and growing in Dallas-Fort Worth are really where we're focused, and we're toying a little bit with Florida, but that's just me and I out there toying with an idea. So if you want to talk about that, by all means reach out. Let's have the conversation because there are some economies of scale there. There are some benefits where I bring the energy and the marketing and you could bring the patient care. I'd love to have the conversation. 2023 has been amazing. 2024 has a lot in store already. We have more events scheduled.
Yep.
We have more practice growth, more additions, more trainings, more staff, more stages. We have more countries.
More content.
There's just so much going on that absolutely, if you're a private practice that is not a part of the community, you really need to have a conversation with Morgan and say, how can this group let me stay in my buying group or leave? How can this group teach me what they're doing or their members are doing? How can this group help me accomplish whatever my dreams, my destiny, my legacy is going to be? And how do I compress time and learn from Jared's successes and his failures to have the best 2024 and beyond?